Have you noticed that things are a bit wild lately? Well, that's in part because of the intersection of oil prices and economic inflation. When the price of oil goes up, it affects everything else too. The prices of goods and services increase, which means the value of money goes down, and that's called inflation. And you can see that this isn't just about inflation. Oil is a key resource that many industries rely on to operate, such as transportation, manufacturing, and energy production. When the oil prices increase, these industries face higher costs, which can lead to decreased production, reduced profits, and even job losses. The economy as a whole can be impacted by oil price fluctuations since it affects consumer spending, business investments, and overall economic growth. This is why oil prices are closely monitored by governments, businesses, and individuals around the world, and even the money GPS. Well, it's not just about the economy. Since oil is a valuable and essential resource, conflicts and disruptions in oil production and transportation can have some severe consequences for the global economy. For instance, if there's a sudden decrease in the supply of oil, well then prices can skyrocket. That's shortages and panic buying that come after it. And this can create social and political instability. We've seen this in many countries, in many instances in history. This can lead to the long-term consequences for the affected countries and regions, which are going on right now. This isn't just something we've seen in the past. We need to stabilize our energy supplies, find multiple sources of energy types, and be hopeful that we can prevent massive swings in price so that people don't get hit with disruptions of any kind. Well, that's the world we are in today, and I wanted to start this video by getting into these issues really with the consumer in mind. That's really where this all begins. So here we have consumer confidence slipping again, and this is pretty obvious what's been happening over the last while. Markets are predicted to experience extreme turbulence. There are some that are saying, hey, we are headed towards a depression, and there are supply chain disruptions and inflation that could contribute to the economic instability. A lot of this is really predicated on the fact that the inflation will remain too high for too long, and as a result, not just the inflation, but as a result, the Federal Reserve needs to keep those rates higher for longer. They've been talking about that a while, but the market hasn't really woken up to that. There's talk about it, but the actual pricing in hasn't happened at all. And that's why stocks are heavily, elevated at this point still today. And it just shows us that the markets try to get ahead of themselves. So that's really important information, okay? Because as we move into the next aspect, you're gonna see, it's gonna make a lot of sense. See what cautious spending means for the US economy. And you will see many times in the past, when you have these difficult times, consumers start to realize this and they pull back. They may not know, they may not understand precisely, but they realize that there's something else going on here, and they've pulled back on their spending in some ways. Now, are they spending a lot? Do we have record debt? Yes, absolutely. But they're not necessarily buying what they did before. They have to pay for more of the same stuff, and the prices of those things have gone up. So yes, they're spending more money, but it's not as if they're going out and buying more things. We've actually seen a lot of the different retailers say we've seen a lot less customers, okay? So this is some other points. Just the fact that we have slow economic growth or slowing economic growth, and that shows up in many different sectors. Here we have the consumer being more cautious, and they've really shown more cautious behavior in some ways. We've seen food stamp usage that has gone up. We've looked at, which I believe I have in this one, but it's basically mile-long lines for food banks, and that shows us that there is a concern coming directly from that consumer. Some experts believe that the cautious spending could lead to a more sustainable economy in the long run. Hey, people are actually this time, they're going to be okay because they're not spending themselves into oblivion. I personally disagree, but I try to not be as opinionated as some of the others out there. But perhaps let me know if I should. Now, the next one is really where things start to get interesting, okay? Because we've moved into a different time. What we saw before is not what we have now. This is just discussing the fact that, one of the parts, mass layoffs, that people are worried. People are concerned in their jobs. At least some people are. And that does have an effect, I believe, on what people are willing to do or not do. And that's showing up already. We're seeing that today. They're just trying to highlight in this article that people are working 7 days a week. They're not really, they don't know what that balance is. Like, where's that work-life balance they keep talking about? A lot of these people are concerned. Hey, well, what's my future going to be? Well, at the same time, we see those economic difficulties. Why are these difficulties coming up? It's because of inflation, harder times. This isn't 2017 anymore. And so people are taking that in, and we can see it showing up in some of the data. Now, I want to talk more about oil in this video, but you can see what's happening. Southern California home sales fall to an all-time low. Pretty big information when you see that this is a place, California, a lot of people up until a few years ago, a lot of people moving in. The home price is extremely high, job growth, agriculture, just about everything, right? But now that's slowing down. Number one reason, of course, interest rates. Borrowing costs are too high. So that creates a slowdown and has a ripple effect. If the prices of the homes and the sales start to slow down, we would see that come out in the jobs, the businesses in the surrounding area. Okay, a little bit of slowdown, not going to hurt anybody, right? Not exactly, because you will see that with, if these businesses don't need as much or don't have that much growth, they stop hiring. If they stop hiring, then that connects on and on. What about the businesses that have taken on debt? Well, maybe they can't pay back that debt. They start to go bankrupt. It has that ripple effect. So we have to watch it very carefully. Right, now we can get into this aspect here, which is about commodities and supply chain as well. Shoppers fighting over cucumbers. You heard me correctly. Let me go back again. Fighting over cucumbers after Aldi and Tesco ration vegetables. The next one, UK grocery price inflation hits record high as more stores impose rationing. This is in the UK, my friends. If you are experiencing it where you are, let us around the world know. If you are in the UK or anywhere else for that matter, and you are seeing rationing of any kind, or you want a particular product, I'm not saying the whole store shelves are empty, but you're going there, you're trying to get cucumbers, and you've got to box somebody just to be able to get to it, please let me know. I'd really like to know what you think. Do you have to get a little bit of boxing training before you enter some MMA training? You got to watch the Rocky movies before going to supermarket? Let me know. Really would love to know what you're thinking. Iceland, real hard situation from what I understand here. The chairman of Iceland has urged customers to get used to it as supermarkets and grocers attempt to get a healthy stock of fruit and veg on the shelves. Wow. Okay? Cold weather, they're blaming cold weather in Morocco and Spain. But, oh yeah, it's Brexit also. Just in case you wanted to know, they're letting you know that it's also Brexit that is responsible for this. All right. Now we can talk about Saudi Arabia raising the prices of oil for Asia and Europe for April. Now that tells us some interesting info, doesn't it? Well, this is seen as an attempt to recover from the losses when oil prices were in the negative, or let's say around that $30 a barrel for quite a while. A lot of grocery stores, if you find that they do the same exact thing, where you might get a sale. Okay, that cucumber that you had to box someone's head off for, it was, let's just say $2. And it's on sale right now. $2 a cucumber, great. You go in the following week, the sale's not on anymore, and that didn't go back up to $3. It's actually at $4 now. So they're trying to even out their profit. And that's what they're saying Saudi is doing right here at this time. That's a claim. Anyway, higher oil prices may contribute to inflation and affect the global economy. Of course, this is huge. And Saudi Arabia, you have OPEC, They are really deciding the price of not just oil for you, but everything that you have. They are going to be responsible for that because there's this knock-on effect that happens. If the prices of oil have been rising, well, then that has an impact on transportation, and that means everything because we get stuff transported all over the place and nothing's really produced local. So that has a direct impact. And of course, there are other things too. What about this? Oil prices fall on rumors of an OPEC split. Now, I don't think so. But I have to tell you it's here and it is important. I truly don't believe we'll see anything about it. But here we go. This is something that they were just saying that United Arab Emirates was considering leaving OPEC. Oil prices dropped. These kind of things are rumors. They come out and about. But hey, if it happens, you heard it here first. So let me just bring that out to you. Now, oil investors get a $128 billion handout as doubts grow about fossil fuels. So they say they're trying to just suggest to everybody right now that oil investors received $128 billion in subsidies in 2020. At the same time, they were saying, look, we were supposed to be shifting to renewables and solar panels and all these things. Why is so much money being put into oil and other things? Well, there's a lot to talk about here and to unpack, but I don't think any country is really ready to go towards solar, wind, all these different things. It's just not there yet, and yet they're really pushing hard for that. And there are some companies that are making multi-billion dollars in profit as a result of that, going towards that. And let me tell you something, the government is going to push towards it anyway, whether it's ready or whether it's not. Trillions of dollars will be put towards what they're calling green energy, and that's it. Whether you say no, doesn't matter what kind of government you get in there, they're all going to push for that. And so as an investor, you could be aware of this and realize, I'm not going to say it's foolproof, but there's a lot of money going in. And it doesn't have to be like regular investors that have to care about it. It's just government just throwing money in. It's like defense contractors. Economy's good, economy's bad, they're going to start a new war. All right? So you see that the government may make some changes. There's no doubt about that. And they'll try to reduce their dependence on oil and things, but I just don't see it going away anytime soon. And if they do cut spending and they do all these things to essentially try to bankrupt oil and gas and so on, what happens to the price? It goes up. So you as the individual have to pay more. And that makes, if oil's going up, your food prices go up. There might be more rations, there might be more shortages. All these things impact you as an individual. So you hopefully, what the message here is, the takeaway is that you're taking this and you're realizing, is the area I live in really something that has never had disruptions? We've got supplies coming from east and west. We're good in that respect. These are the things you have to search in your own area. I can't, of course, make for everybody's city and state and province and everything. We've got to know that for ourselves. Do we have multiple supplies, or are you living in a place where you're heavily reliant on like this one farm in Mexico? And if the disruption happens for whatever reason, what goes on? There was an issue. What happened 2020? Oh, we can't get people across the border because we're testing them or putting swabs in their nose and their eyeballs and their ears and things. And that's just really making this real long line. And a lot of those goods, they were spoiling by the time they were getting to where they needed to be. Very dangerous what happened, because it's food, not something you can mess around with. Shortage of metals for EVs, electric vehicles, is rising up the agenda in automakers' C-suites. So what are they talking about here? Well, of course, electric vehicle production. There's more demand for it now than ever before. A lot of that has to do with the government basically saying, we're going to subsidize this. So yeah, the car might be more expensive, but we're going to give you back some of that cost. And when you go to charge your vehicle, if we allow you to, you're going to charge your vehicle, it's going to be much cheaper than filling up the gas, which we're going to try to send the price of that gas up. So this is what's happening right now, and the metals are extremely lucrative. And the shortages and things, it's hard to come by a lot of these things. By the way, Iran discovered the second largest reserves of lithium in the world. Can anybody say coup d'etat is on the table anytime soon? But anyway, the point is that we got to look at that and realize we got some very interesting incoming, dynamics when it comes to what's happening with electric vehicles and with energy in general, because these type of things are going to really make waves. It's not just about the investments, though. If you're interested in that, like for instance, Tesla is trying to get their own lithium mine. They want to do that because they want to have control over what happens. Very important stuff. I hope you appreciated this today. We got into the oil, we got into this, and I'm trying to really take a deep dive on these aspects, and I'm trying to look into them and not just throw articles at you. I'm trying to give you the takeaways. If you appreciate that, please let me know. I want to make a couple points. Setting up the email list again. I had about 6,000 or 7,000 people on the insiders before. I'm reopening the insiders. Maybe this week you're going to see an email from me. My goodness, I hope so. I'm trying to do this all and set it up all myself, so that will be a little challenge. That's no problem. We'll get it done. You're going to get an email from me. If you're not on that list, I'll tell you how to get on that list. Okay, it's going to be on my website. I'll figure that all out. If you have any business inquiries at all, you want to advertise, whatever, email me, david@themoneygps.com. david@themoneygps.com. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button each and every day. I'm posting videos. You want to be notified about that. So definitely come back. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.